All right. Hello, guys. This is Case Bowling with First Reviews. How you guys doing today?
Very
Great.
good.
Thank
For
you.
having us.
Oh, no problem. I watched the film this morning, and I just want to congratulate you guys on a job well done. I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Um, I want to ask you, Andy, first. I know you have a successful career as a stunt coordinator, but this is your featured directorial debut, and I was wondering, was that kind of easier to take on since you're also a writer on the project alongside Danielle here?
Yeah, certainly. I had actually directed a movie before many years ago, um, but this one was certainly far um, far easier and more fun to take on because we'd created it together. And so by the time we went to camera, we very thoroughly knew the movie and knew the characters, and we were very sort of entrenched in it by the time we were shooting. So it was yes, it was certainly easier than just coming on as a hired hand director or whatever.
One of the aspects of the film that I really enjoy that you guys didn't shy away from is when talking about women who are victims of these kind of crimes, how law enforcement tends to kind of ignore them because it seems like because of their lifestyle, people might not think about them or they won't be remembered, that kind of thing. And I'm glad that you guys addressed that in the film. And I was wondering how important it was for you to have that be addressed in the film.
Yeah, hugely important. And thank you for recognizing that and bringing it up. I think that's one of the big parts of the true story that really hit home, and that we wanted to put a bit of a spotlight on that social issue that's a part of our society, and hopefully encourage a little more compassion in that area. This story is inspired by a true story where those women went missing for decades,
Yeah.
just simply because this killer was really targeting people that were not being looked after. Um, and so we wanted to tell that story. We definitely took a lot of liberties. This is not a true story. It is just inspired by. So we wanted to appeal to the true crime crowd, but we also wanted to appeal to the horror genre. And most especially, we wanted to be respectful to any families or anyone that was connected to the true story. That this didn't happen all that long ago. So we just wanted to tread lightly there. Um, and make it a bit of a hybrid. So that's what we've done. But it was so important to keep that thread. And our main one of our main characters, Lisa, the social worker, who it's her sort of point of view that we follow through. That is her big passion. And that is because it is a great passion of both Andy and I, and probably one of the main reasons we were drawn to telling this story in the first place.
Nice. Yeah, you can really tell that when you're watching it too. So I'm glad that
Thank
chives through in the story. When it came to doing the research for this, since it is inspired by true events, how deep did you guys go? Was it a little uncomfortable to go deep into it? What was the whole kind of writing process like?
Yeah, we went to a certain level, but we were very keen on not doing anything that was absolutely per se the things that happened. And it mainly, as Danielle said, it was a fairly recent story, so a lot of the parents and brothers and sisters and things of victims are still alive, and we wanted to be respectful of them. And in reality, a lot of the stuff that went on, nobody really knows fully about, because the moment the real character was arrested, he sort of clammed up. They don't even know the real number of
Yeah.
people. So we wanted to just hit on the sort of high notes, and we sort of, in a way, watered down a little bit the apathy of the police, because that was certainly a contributing factor of why these crimes went on so long, is that simply the victims were not cared enough about. and that's a terrible sort of observation of society, but it's a fact. And we wanted to keep that thread in there, but not sort of hit everyone over the head with it, because in reality, it's awful how much they were ignored.
I don't, not necessarily about the women, but we did a lot of research about missing women in general. In the statistics, especially in the true case, it was a lot of Indigenous women. And so we did a bit of research there, and Andy actually knew quite a lot about the story. He had loosely been connected to the documentary. His friend was shooting it, and he was just slightly involved in putting some of the scenes together. So we kind of just took that and then we went with it from there. And everything else for me was more of like developing human relationships and just diving into the more psychological parts of these people who are quote unquote bad, and then the ones that are quote unquote good. But for us, it was really important to, every human being has all kinds of aspects. So we hope that our good characters are layered with plenty of flaws and plenty of things that they have to overcome, as well as our killer and some of the more unsavory characters have a lot of depth and layers to them. So it's not just so black and white. And we really wanted to lean into that and those relationships and building up those characters.
Thanks. So I always wonder this when two people are tackling writing a project. Is it one of those things where like maybe one of you will tackle certain aspects of the story and the other one will do something else? Or is it a consistent kind of collaborative effort when it comes to writing a project together?
Consistent collaborative effort. We really, there's nothing that sort of in one person's toolbox and not in the other one. We would sort of cross-pollinate ideas, and it generally we would generally sort of write in the real as a couple of people. I'd throw a load of ideas out, and Danielle would do the same, and then she would often sort of trim and tidy up my ideas and
so often Andy would say to me, oh yeah, and then when you came up with this idea, that was so good, and I'd be like, that was your idea, and he'd go, was it?
It's all mixed up.
Yeah, we completely
That's hilarious. There are moments of violence and gore and all that, but I guess what I appreciated is that it wasn't necessarily gratuitous and kind of served the story a bit without just kind of being, violent and gory for the sake of that. And I was wondering if there was any discussions on like how far you guys wanted to go when it came to that aspect of it.
Yeah, it's a very fine line. That it's a hard thing to moderate, even sort of on the set. But we would discuss every one of them though, and to see how far, whether there should be nudity, whether there should be body parts, or each one was sort of was carefully thought about. And you do the movie and you still don't know whether you've gone over the top with stuff or not, not satisfied people with enough gore or whatever. It's a very it's a little bit like being a chef. You're not sure whether you've put too much of that sauce in or less salt here. It's a thing. But I think it feels about right to me. Now the movie, it's got I think it's certainly brutal, but I don't think there's any gratuitous.
Yeah, I think we wanted to take the moments that were authentically brutal and like, don't shy away, be brutal. Andy always says, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly bear. So we would be the grizzly bear when and where it was right, but we were very conscious about not being gratuitous. But there is blood, there is nudity. We were talking about, sex workers and killings. So it's there. Yeah.
I must say,
Yeah, I agree.
all our girls, all the victims that are killed, I must say they all came to it with a real sort of openness and a real commitment to it. I was so impressed. Some of those parts could be awkward
Well,
to do, but everybody embraced it perfectly. I was so impressed with that.
Cast is
yeah,
tremendous. Not just our big, our bigger, more recognizable names, which are all awesome, but
yeah.
the secondary characters as well. Like, I couldn't be more proud of our cast.
Yeah, I agree too. This is gonna be the last question I ask you guys, and even though the horror thriller aspects of this movie is great, but what I really latched onto in just like even just a few scenes was the relationship between Sadie and Lisa, which I thought was really well written, even though like there's not a ton of time to really develop that relationship, but I thought that it was so well written enough where you cared about their interactions, and I was wondering what it was like to kind of craft that relationship on the page too, because I really thought that really worked.
Thank you so much for saying that. And I love Sadie, and I just have to say Sydney Carvel, like the second when we saw her audition, immediately we were both like, that's our Sadie, and
Yeah,
she was
yeah.
amazing to work with. So great. You want to talk a little bit about the writing of that character, Andy?
No, I think that was a lot of. I think that was a real combined effort, wasn't it? I mean, that was there was a lot of both of us in those. That I'm very happy with some of those characters that they feel three-dimensional. They don't, I hope they do anyway. I hope they don't feel like they're sort of the central casting for that sort of character. It's they're
I think
all.
she's a very important character to the storyline, and I'm so happy you brought her up, because I think she really represents all of them in seeing
Right.
the humanity behind the women that end up in these positions. And with her, we get an opportunity to really see a little bit deeper and hopefully feel a little more of that compassion.
Yeah, you really feel the tragedy through her.
Yeah.
I think it's something really tragic. It's a strong part in the movie.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to say again, thank you for your time. I really, again, thoroughly enjoyed the film. I love when these kind of movies are more than just, what the genre kind of labels them as. That there's more going on with the story. And I thought you guys did a really good job with that. And I hope everyone else enjoys it when they see it. So thank
Thank
you
you
so
very
much
much.
again.